Hi guys, Jay Nice on the mic. I'm taking it back to my old school camera or iPhone videos. If you guys are some of my OG followers, you may remember some of my older videos. Pretty much all of my older videos I shot on my iPhone. I think it was like an iPhone 4 or an iPhone 5. So I'm actually driving. It is Friday, June 30th. So it's like 4th of July weekend. It's like 1:00 p.m. and I'm driving from New York to Connecticut. If any of you guys have driven or know the tri-state area, you know, like 4th of July weekend, Friday, everyone is like driving to Connecticut or Boston. So it's supposed to be like 50 minutes, 50 to an hour, but it's actually an hour and a half. So I figured I should utilize this time to record some YouTube video. Jay-Z's new album, 444. I think it's dope that, and I'm like sitting in standstill traffic. I wish I could turn my camera and allow you guys to see it, but it's like standstill traffic right now. Gotta love New York. But so I love that. I think it's dope. The fact that Jay-Z is releasing this on 4th of July weekend, not 4th of July, because that would have been cool, but the fact that he's releasing it on 4th of July weekend, I think is super cool. I know, you know, the symbolism of fours to him and Beyonce and the love for, and I just think it's so dope. So this will be an initial analysis, and I'll probably do a follow-up video because I don't have Tidal. I have like Apple Music, and you can only listen to his album on Tidal. But all of the New York radio stations pretty much are like Hot 97 and Power 105 are playing his music constantly today. I really wanted to talk about this album, so I actually really like it. And for just to give you guys a little bit of a brief background, I'm not a huge Jay-Z fan. I didn't grow up listening to rap music. My music tastes are very eclectic, and I was like a huge rock fan. So I liked rock music, not like heavy metal. But I grew up listening to like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Alanis Morissette, and just not hip-hop. As a child, I didn't really like hip-hop. But now that I'm older, my taste is a little bit more refined. I still love my trap music, but it's a little bit, I guess, more expansive. So I liked the Magna Carta, which was, so it's cool that it's been 4 years since Jay-Z has released an album, and he's releasing it on 4th of July weekend, and it's called 444. That's just like dope. I love the symbolism behind that. But so I liked the Magna Carta album. But I think it's always important to preface this by saying I'm not a huge Jay-Z fan, but over the years I've grown to appreciate him as an artist. I felt like the content of his music was primarily, I felt like he referred back too much. He drew on his experiences of selling drugs and almost like glorified that kind of like behavior a little bit too much for my liking. But it's obvious and very apparent that there was some infidelity that took place in Beyonce and Jay-Z's marriage, truth behind it. So I think it was obvious after that album that there was some infidelity on Jay-Z's part. I really loved and appreciated that Jay-Z took ownership of what happened. I think that that's really, really important, just as human beings, but especially in a relationship. It's really, really important to take ownership of mistakes. You can't move forward in a relationship if you don't acknowledge your participation in wrongdoing. You know, and I think we're always so quick when we exit relationships or we have issues. It's just human nature to want to blame the other person. And it's like, no, it's this person's fault, the reason why we got into a fight. And I'm guilty as well. Like I said, we're all guilty because we all want to, it's preservation of self. We want to preserve the positive image of ourselves that we have. So I thought it was so dope that Jay-Z like really took ownership. So I think in the song Kill Jay-Z, he mentions, you know, I love the line. So if you guys follow me on IG, you may have seen my post. I love the line where he was talking about Eric Benet. You know, when he was talking about how Eric Benet basically let a bad chick like Halle Berry slip between his fingers. And yes, before you guys comment and say, well, we don't know if Halle Berry was really a good woman, you know, just because she looked amazing and she's gorgeous doesn't mean she's a good woman or whatever. But looking beyond Halle Berry, the content of her character, I think the message behind what Jay-Z was saying is something that we should really take heed to. He's basically saying, and this happens so much, where men take amazing women for granted and you end up losing a gem. You have a gem in your hand and you end up losing it. And he said in the song, I think it was in Kill Jay-Z, one of the lines in the song was, who needs a menage a trois when you have your soulmate? And I was like, that's real. Like, people are out here, and by people I mean men, but you know, men are out here looking for the next skirt to chase. And this is by no means like a bashing men video, but it's like men are, you know, out here. A lot of men aren't in monogamous relationships, and it's unbeknownst to their significant other. And it's like you're out here looking for the next thrill and the next person that will bring you some small form of pleasure. But why are you out here doing that when you found the person who completes you? You know, like, is it worth the risk? And it wasn't clear from the songs that I heard whether it's implied that infidelity took place. Obviously, if you listen to Lemonade and then listen to this album, it's like implied. But it's like he acknowledges his wrongdoing. He also acknowledges that the incident in the elevator, he egged Solange on, you know, because he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he was, you know, he said something, whatever he said, to incite her. So I thought that I just really appreciate the fact that he's being an adult and he's taking ownership of the things that he did. He could have came out with an album talking about anything. He didn't have to acknowledge his infidelity or his issues with Beyonce or Solange. So I really appreciate the fact that he is taking ownership. And I think if more men and more people in general, more men and women took ownership of our wrongdoing and our mistakes, I think relationships, friendships, any type of relationship you have with other people would be better and stronger. But the problem is, so many of us have pride. Another really interesting thing he said in one of the songs was something about how he didn't, like, he has a problem. He has issues with, like, loving, you know, like he doesn't know how to really love, you know. And it's like, you don't want to open yourself up to the other person because you don't want to be vulnerable. And that's a real problem, particularly in our society, where our society glorifies being standoffish. You know, Future really glorifies being standoffish and never trusting a chick, and just kind of like, you know, like you have this such a high level of pride, and you do not want to allow anybody to see you hurt and allow anybody to see you down. I'm guilty of that myself. I'm like such a typical cliche Aries that it's not even funny. And one thing about Aries, we have a very, very sharp tongue. So we have a sharp ass tongue, and it's like, I don't like people to see me vulnerable. And those people who know me are like, wow, you know, you're strong, you're aggressive, you're assertive. But it's funny, if you read about Aries, some of the things that they say about people who were born under the zodiac sign of Aries is that we appear strong on the surface, but inside we're very soft. Don't be a hard rock when you really are a gem, in the words of Lauryn Hill. So it's like, on the surface I appear so strong, and I am strong, but at the same time I think it's not a facade, but I think that my strong exterior is a cover for my sensitivity. Those of you guys who know me also know I'm very sensitive, but you would never know it because I appear very strong. So this traffic is crazy, yo. But yeah, so I just really appreciate the fact that Jay-Z was like so candid and honest, and as a man, I appreciate that. One of the reasons I really appreciate Drake as an artist, and I understand a lot of men who are watching this don't like Drake and don't feel like he's a real lyricist or whatever. As a female who doesn't listen to hip-hop, I don't even know if you consider Drake hip-hop or whatever, but what I appreciate about Drake as a musician and as an artist is the fact that he's able to be vulnerable. He's able to display that hard exterior and talk and, you know, be gregarious and talk about his money and talk about, you know, all of his positive attributes, but at the same time, he is also able to display that sensitivity and that softness and that vulnerability. And I think that that's what really women really love and appreciate about Drake, is that he's one of the few male artists, male rappers, who displays that sensitivity and that vulnerability. A lot of men don't do that, and especially not Jay-Z of all people. So I appreciate the fact that he acknowledges and is kind of like, I don't know how to love. Like, I'm like not the best. I've made mistakes. These are my mistakes, and I really, really appreciate that. I think that this is going to be a really good album for the culture. And, you know, I just really appreciate that. What are some other things that I liked about the album? I talked about the Eric Benet thing. I thought that was my picture caption, because it's so real. Like, you don't want to let it's not even about being bad, it's not about physicality, but it's like, you had an amazing woman, you don't want to let that go for just one of these random Joe Schmoes out here, and it happens a lot. So he spoke a lot of realness in the album. You know, he also touched upon the fact that it's like, you're gonna lose everything. It's not at the point in his life where he's at, and a lot of these people out here who get caught up in infidelity, it's not just a matter of like losing the person that you love. If you have children and there are children involved, you know, he said something along the lines of like how sick he would be or how he would feel if his daughter or his twins were out here being raised by another man. That's, and I can imagine as a man how emasculating that may be, because, and I only say that, I'm not saying that children who are raised by stepfathers, that the stepfathers or the real, I'm not saying that. I'm saying in this particular instance, because it wasn't like there was an amicable split. It was like there was infidelity and you lost this amazing person, and on top of that, your children that you love so dearly are being raised by someone else. So I want to hear from you guys what your favorite songs on Jay-Z's 444 444 album were. I'm actually gonna listen to the rest of it, because I'm in so it's like 1:30, and they said at 2 p.m. they're gonna play the rest of the album. I was actually thinking about just getting titles so I can listen to the rest of the album, because the songs that I've listened to sound really dope, and you know, I'm like, this is a good a meaningful album. So what songs are your favorites? I saw some people's reviews on Instagram, and for the most part I think people really like the album, but some people didn't seem like they were impressed. They're like, this isn't a classic. I'm not well versed in Jay-Z's catalog, so take my opinion however you will, but I want to know what you guys think, whether you like the album, whether you have Tidal, whether you listen to it or not, whether you care to listen. So I will check you guys out next time. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for watching, and I love you guys.